Hello and welcome to the Stage of Greatness. I am Danielle Francine, and today I have with me a dear friend from New Jersey many years ago, beautiful, Miss Christine Conti. And we have also Tico and Henry, if you hear birds in the background. So we all welcome you, Christine. Thank you for being here with us.
I feel like I got an extra special welcome with with the menagerie that's happening. I love it. I
You're like,
absolutely
wait,
love it.
we want to see her too. Where is she? There she is. She's here. Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to reconnect, Danielle. I think our paths will continue to cross many times, even if we lose touch a little bit, because we are we're trailblazers. We're not the average person out there. And I always would say that, I'm not here to be average. I'm here to be awesome. And while that may be kind of funny sometimes, that people are like, oh, no, that's a fact. We're not here to be average. And, I'm so excited that you're doing all of these amazing things and getting out there and just podcasting. And you've got a lot of a lot of uh a lot of glass ceilings breaking and moving through fear and transitioning into new spaces. I think is just very admirable, and I'm super proud of all the stuff that you're doing too, because it matters.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And really, likewise, and like you said, it's like we may lose touch here and there, but it's like every time we do reconnect, what's new? Oh my God, I'm doing this, I'm speaking here, I'm traveling here, like
Mhm.
all the things. And it's just always forward movement. There's always momentum. And really, that's just not ever settling, right? For where you are. And taking that step to be awesome, to continue that instead of be average.
It's been a crazy ride. I mean, we met at kind of a cross points in our lives,
Both of us, yeah.
thinking of, both of us were just kind of transitioning to the next level. What's the next thing?
Mm-hmm.
And having an idea of your passion. Here's what I love. Here's what lights my shine, but I don't necessarily know how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And having that patience and that consistency and just showing up and saying, I'm showing up. I'm going to put in my personal work. I'm going to get out in the community. I'm going to get out on social media and the worldwide platforms and learn as much as I can, knowing that I know that this is going to pay off. I know I'm going in the right direction,
Mm-hmm.
and having to accept that fear that, oh my gosh, this is scary. And, should I leave this career or leave this job, or am I going to have money to pay the bills and you're like, guess what? Things are going to work out because you work hard,
Yeah.
and it will work out. And I think that's just really cool. And I think you're someone like that
Mm-hmm.
it, we're going to do things that scare us
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people sometimes look at us and they're like, oh, they don't get scared. They have so much courage. And
Uh-huh.
like, well, no, there's many days of like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I had the best advice when I left my second career. And I had a neighbor who was he's a pretty famous artist.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Jay Alders. He does live paintings for all these bands all over the world.
Nice.
Anyway, so I was talking to him, and he knew about, like, I was going to leave my teaching career and go full time into fitness and health and all the businesses and whatever. And he was like, listen, he's like, here's what's going to happen. He's like, you're going to work hard, you're going to work to your goals. And that eventually what's going to happen is that your highs are going to get higher and they're going to last longer. And
Mm.
your lows are going to be less low and they're not going to last as long.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so damn right. So right. Because it's so freaking scary at first, but then you get that glimpse of got a weird opportunity, or I just did, and to focus on those. I just think that was the coolest piece of advice because he was so right as an entrepreneur and an artist. People were like, "You're going to do art, really? Oh, wait tables, you know."
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's so true. The highs and the lows, and really not even just in like entrepreneurship, but in everything.
mm-hmm.
One of the things that, I experienced over the past year in getting divorced, like that level of pain, that deep, like heart-wrenching, peeling myself up off the floor pain that I've not ever experienced. Well, being able to feel that low allowed me to feel that much more.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, with all my relationships, it's like the expansion of the relationships, and the
Yeah,
contraction isn't so much of a contraction, right? So yeah, I love that. It's so true. The highs and the lows. It's like you just keep raising the bar, and your lows just really are like just not great, a
right,
great high.
right,
you
right.
know.
It's a journey. Like I just feel like it's a journey. And for, the people that are listening to you and every, following you sometimes, they might think like, oh, I mean, people do it to me on social media too. Like, oh, you've got it all together. No, I don't have it all together. What I do have is the fact that I show the F up is
Mm-hmm.
what it is.
Yeah,
That is what I've learned. Life is about showing up, not just for other people, but you've got to show up for you.
yourself. Mm-hmm.
And being in the room, if you want to achieve a certain goal and you look at people and they're like, oh my God, they're so successful, reach out to them. What is it that they did? And that's how I've elbowed my way into, and it's because, hey, I want to be around that person because what they're doing looks amazing and they're changing lives and they're like, how did they do it?
Right.
And it's just such an easy like piece of advice to say if you see someone that has great energy and they're making changes, go freaking talk to them. And
Yeah.
we didn't even have social media back then when we were trying to do stuff.
Right.
Now it's like you just DM someone and you like
Yeah.
message them and they write back
Instant.
like well,
Yeah.
crazy. Um or conferences. I can't tell you how many people I've met just by like being in the room and
Mm.
going up and being like, "Hi, I'm Christine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would love to hear more about what you do, or tell me more." Just like asking people.
Yeah.
People love to talk about themselves.
Of course. Right. It's true. So it's funny because I was thinking this morning, about us being on here and like what we're gonna talk about. And I'm like, I don't really know Christine's story. I know that, well, especially now that you just said, I left my second career. I know that there was a huge piece that was like a transitional piece in your life. I don't know if that was associated with leaving your career and to what you do now, but I just know that it is huge and inspiring, and I want to know. So tell me. Tell me, please.
So I will, it took me a long time to understand why I was the way I was, or why I always felt like there was more. And what's interesting for everybody, this is great. Before I tell this, Danielle and I met because I was leaving, I was taking a sabbatical from teaching to see if to go into, a new transition. And I was like doing some coaching at Orange Theory in our area because of like a friend of a friend who was like, hey, would you want to do some of this stuff? And I was like, sure, as I'm building my other life, right? And I always love it when people ask, like, so do you do anything else aside from this? Like the other day I was I taught a spin class, like just like kind of, so you don't do it for the money at this point. It's just kind of like, I enjoy this. I want to do something for
Right.
the community. And a girl was like, so Christine, do you do anything else besides like teach spin? And I'm like, no, I don't.
I sit at home and I knit.
This is it. I teach 2 spin classes a week and that's it. Yeah. Um, but that's what I love. I love being able to do some things that are almost like for me to give back. Um, so long story, I mean, I'm going to make this pretty short, but it took me, almost 40 years to realize, to really own who I was and be able to openly speak about what I've been through. And I think as soon as I started, it was in my 30s, as soon as I started realizing who I was and why I was doing what I was doing my whole life, was when I was completely liberated.
Mm.
Because, and as I share this with you, you'll probably be like, oh my God, that this kind of makes sense now. But you don't always know. In hindsight is 20 is, hindsight, right? 2020, like your vision. And but so when I was younger, um, I grew up third child, whatever. I never, let's say, I was always like not the prettiest, not the, thinnest, whatever. I was an athlete. I was always bigger. That was always like a sticking point. So I got made good grades, be a great athlete, blah, blah, blah. I always did what everyone told me to, because that's what I was brainwashed to believe. You're going to go out, you're going to, you know, do this, this, and this. Um, so when I was in high school, I wound up like obviously like getting an eating disorder and all of these other things, but it happened because actually I was raped when I was in high school
Mm.
multiple times. And that was something that I felt was my fault, that I brought it upon myself
Oh,
and never said anything. So when I was going through depression and different things, people just thought, oh, it's Christine is just, sure, she's going through something, or a boyfriend broke up with her or whatever. I never went through the feels. And
right.
I just thought, well, I must have put myself in this situation,
Mhm.
and never felt that I was enough, right? And I probably deserved it, or you didn't have the confidence. So I buried it, because
Mm.
that wasn't something that I'm supposed to be, right?
Right.
And that's embarrassing. I'm not going to bring that upon my family. And it was someone that I knew. And that's the thing. Like it was so fast forward, I go to college, I do the things, and I was always told I loved fitness, I loved wellness, but that's not a career. That's just a hobby.
Right.
So I got a business degree, I got an English degree, but I took all the exercise science classes I could in college, even though I wasn't, because I loved it. I got certified in undergrad with like AFA and all these like,
Yeah.
companies to personal train and group fitness, but
Right.
just because I loved it.
Yeah.
Um, so I wound up working for Morgan Stanley in investment banking in New York City for a while, and realized like, yeah, the money's great, but I'm not going to kiss away my 20s. Like I can't sit behind a desk. And people who know me are like, we can't even imagine
Did
you
that.
there.
Yeah.
I was like social butterfly when I was there. I'm like, oh, who's going to go out where? Are we getting drinks tonight?
Right.
So I went and got my master's in English so I could teach, so I
Mhm.
could coach, so then I could also do my fitness business on the side. So at
Mm.
age 22, I'd already LLC'd, like Conti Fitness or whatever,
Yeah.
worked at all the gyms,
Nice.
taught, coached all the volleyball, at high school level, and worked. Um, and it was great for a little while. It's, hey, but everything I ever did was, what can I do to get outside of this classroom, to get outside of this desk? And on nice days, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
what are they doing
Itching.
out there? So it was always about the end of the day. And I just always did what I was supposed to, be the CEO, make all the money, because that's what makes you successful and happy. And Fast forward now, yeah, I get married. I got a kid. Like I'm doing the things I'm supposed to do. And I'm working. I've never worried about money because I always did what you're supposed to do, right? Age 30, I get hit with a very aggressive autoimmune disease.
Mm.
And pretty much the doctor was like, well, we'll hit you up with some major drugs. So this is like I'm on like a chemo cocktail,
Oh.
age 30, but I'm sitting there, and this is what was really powerful is that I remember sitting at the doctor's office on the parchment paper, waiting for this person to come in, doorknob turns, woman's going through all of her papers, and she's like, gets to the last page and is like, yeah, you've got this advanced form of whatever. And my eyes well up with tears and they're like streaming down my face. And she looks at me and she's like, I don't understand why you're crying. Like, you've got many more years of like independence and like movement in front of you. And I'm like, wait, what? What? So what you don't know is that my maternal grandmother had the same exact disease. She was a quadriplegic. She died when I was 10. So I never saw her walk. All I imagined in my head was I am going to be crippled. I'm 30 with like a 3-year-old child. And my mother was the main caretaker for her. So I
Mm.
know what it was like. My mom working with kids and caring for her mom and nurses 24/7 at her house.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, I don't want that for me. I would rather die
Yeah.
than live a life like that, be a burden on my family, relationships, money. And for 6 months, I was in a really dark place.
Yeah.
And that was where I was like, oh my God, and I'm sick because of the medications. And I'm like, still
Mm.
trying to do all the things and juggle the whatever. Um, and then I get to a point where like my dad suddenly dies. And I like ability to see the world in a different way. And I sat here, and was like, all right, Christine, you need to pull it together because this is where Wonder Woman comes in. Um, you have two choices in life. You could do something or you could do nothing. Always choose something. And I really believe that because I could sit here and feel bad about myself and use my disease as a crutch and be miserable. Or I could say, you know what? If I don't know how much more time I have with movement and my body, then I'm making a bucket list and we're going for it. And
Yeah.
that's really when I was like, all right, man, let's do it. All right, we're going to go forward. I'm going to run some races. I'm going to raise some money for charities. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to jump out of the planes and the blah, blah. And it really changed my mindset. And I said, you know what? I've got all these resources in fitness and exercise science and whatever from around the world because
Mhm.
I loved fitness. I got all the certifications. I went to all the conferences,
Yeah.
and I said, I'm going to use my resources. So I spent a decade studying doctors and nurses and nutritionists and holistic health and was an experimental one. I did all the acupuncture and vegan and laser light therapy and but I knew I had to take care of myself and I wanted to know what I could do, not just medicine wise, because I didn't want to be on that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
What can I do to control my own health?
Yeah.
And that's when I really started taking a look at myself of, I really have always wanted to go in this direction of helping people, not just physically, mentally. I've always tried to empower women, always tried to give people. Me too. Yeah, I've been through that too. And I made it and I'm okay. And I never had the courage and confidence to speak up.
Mm.
So for how many 30 something years, I kept all of this. I'm not good enough. I deserve this. I to myself.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, life becomes finite
Mm.
and you don't know. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not keeping this to myself anymore. And I knew that I was an English teacher. These walls are confining me. I should be happy. I should be fulfilled. I'm changing children's lives. But I knew inside that delivering my message to a bigger platform, I could have so much more influence and help so many more people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I quit teaching and started my own podcasting 5.5 years ago, and was able to pretty much change my life and travel the world and create my own companies and write courses and be in the medical space and share some of my struggles with physical and disease and arthritis and all of this to help other people get through and realize that anything's possible.
Mm.
So that's part of, I just said I'm going to elbow my way into where I want to be. And there's some pretty powerful big things happening. But that's, I was like, hey, I always wanted to write a book, write the book. Always wanted to start a podcast, start the podcast. Like I always wanted to, take people on retreats all over the world, doing it. Like,
Yeah.
and it's, you just do it. Like it's hard because people just trip over themselves.
Yeah.
And I hear excuses and I'm like, okay, so,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
like there's no limits to what we can do. You
Right.
want it, go get it.
Mm-hmm.
And surround yourself with people, like you, like me, who are going to say to you, okay, so what's holding you back?
Right.
Because guess what? Your whole thing with money and whatever, let's pretend money's not the issue.
Then what?
And tell me what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So like what is coming to my mind, right? Because you had a basically like a life-threatening scare and you're like, oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
I may be in this place in a few years. So
Mm-hmm.
what am I going to do? I'm going to do all of these things that I've wanted to do. I'm going to run races. I'm going to skydive. I'm going to write the book. I'm going to, right? And you're like on a mission. But so what about the woman that is like, well, like my life is good. Like I'm married, I have money, I have a job, I have
Mm-hmm.
kids. I want to do all those things. Like I really want to do all those things and I'm scared.
Yeah, there's people that, and this is what I have to say. I woke up, you're awake, I'm awake. There's a difference. There's some people that are completely happy being complacent,
Mhm.
completely happy. My mother, she taught kindergarten for 40 years. 40 years.
Nope.
I barely liked my own little kids. Like, okay,
40 years of other people's kids.
10 years old. She was like, I was 10 years old. I knew I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher.
Mm,
That's not for me. I'm someone I'm constantly evolving. Like
right.
yes, I needed to be in business to learn my business savvy for what I do now. I needed to be in communications and leadership and coaching and blah, blah, blah. Like I needed all that exercise science information because everything that I've ever done, all the good, the bad, all the experiences that should have wrecked me
Mhm.
have only made me understand and have empathy and compassion for all the people that I can now help.
Yeah.
Oh, you got diagnosed with cancer. I get it. Like,
Mm,
okay, you've had disordered eating things. You've been through terrible relationships and you feel this way. I don't exactly know how you feel, but I understand
mhm.
that you feel like you don't want to go on. You feel like I just would rather die than fill in the blank.
Right.
Okay, that's a good way to start. But you know what we need to do? We need to let that shit in. We need to let those feelings in.
Yes.
Because unless you hit bottom, you're never going to understand what it's like to raise up. And it's freaking hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. let's not be mistaken that this journey is easy, because it's not. There's still days where I'm told, I don't know how many times, this is really funny. I was talking to someone the other day on a meeting. And I'm like one of the facilitators. And I was like, um, I've been told that I'm like a bad leader at least like 4 times in my life. Like, yeah, you're not a good leader. And I'm like, yeah, you
Okay.
know what? I have developed so much confidence in my leadership skills that I can now look back, and all those tears and crying and I'm not good enough. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't the right time. That
Hmm.
wasn't the job. That wasn't the position or the place
Hmm.
in my path that I needed to be. So,
Right.
you know what? Thank you, bad words, because you the strength to understand that that wasn't a good fit. You're
Mhm.
right. I wouldn't have been a good leader for you because
You
you
weren't aligned.
did not have the same vision and passion that I did.
Right. Right.
So that's important. And then I don't think you need to have a life-threatening disease or scare or terrible trauma to wake up.
Hmm.
But are you, at the end of the day, I always say at the end of the day, like our life, if that person who's like, I'm not ready, or I'm okay with my job, as long as they can look back when they're 85 and say, I don't have any regrets,
Hmm.
or I'm happy with what I did with my life. I was a
Right.
good mom or a good wife and I had a good career, then
Hmm.
that's cool. But if you can kind of forward think and say, I don't want to be 85, and say, I wonder what it would have been like if I did.
Yeah. I wish I
And
would
I
have
knew that.
been. Hmm.
I knew that.
Hmm.
And I would rather have left teaching or left whatever and failed, because then at least I would have known.
Right. Well, yeah. And imagine how different your life would be right now if you would have stayed with that.
Oh God, I can't. Yeah, that alarm, that 5 a.m. alarm every day, and getting up and being like, oh, I have to go to work. I choose when I get up now. And sometimes, you know what? Maybe I will get up at 5 a.m.
Right. Right.
Maybe I will have the meeting early,
Hmm.
or
Maybe
maybe,
not.
maybe not. Maybe that's not going to be but I'm still very disciplined, and I run a very tight ship,
Hmm.
but it's on my terms.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like my transition was kind of not the opposite of yours, but like doing hair,
Yeah.
right? I always wanted to do hair. Cosmetology school in high school, right out of high school. Okay, master stylist, JC Penney salon. Loved my job. Loved
Yeah.
it. And it was toxic for my body. I would go out with the girls every night and drink. I would smoke. I ate garbage. And then all of a sudden, CrossFit. My dad, okay, well, I think you should give your 2 weeks to the salon. Okay, I'm in. And then that was it. Like that started the rest of my life. I can't even imagine the type of person that I would be now if I stayed in that career path. Right? All of the connections I would not have
Mhm.
you, right? The health, the transformation of all of these women. Like, yeah, just that, helping other people. It's great to make someone look beautiful, and
Right.
it's aesthetic, right? It's superficial. It's here. It's the motivation, it's the inspiration, it's the actual like change in the person's emotional body, their mental state, their
Yeah.
spirit.
There's something to be said for connecting also with people that are positive. And like you said, for you, it was toxic. For me, I wish, and I know that there's so many people that are teachers for life and they love it and they have great environments. They do. I did not find that.
Mhm.
And worked a couple different places in a couple different states. And it was like, I just wanted to go to work and have people love what they do and be positive and not complain. And I hear that's a thing. Like I was always like, I hear that people enjoy their work environment.
Where do I find that?
But until I found what I love, and it's so ridiculous that, everyone says like, well, when you do what you love, you never work.
Right.
I freaking love what I do. And my husband will be like, Christine, he'll knock on my door in my office and be like, Christine, it's like 8 o'clock. Like, can you shut down for the night? And I'm like, just one more thing, just one more, because
You love it.
if I'm sitting at my computer, like, oh, I'm writing a blog for this, I'm doing an article here, I'm zooming for this. I work for companies all over the world that I get to, you hear that? Like, it's the
Yeah.
change of,
Yep.
oh, I have to have a meeting at 10. No,
I
I
get
get to do these cool classes. I get to work for these companies, consult for whatever. Is it the norm? No. Is it like juggling plates every day? Absolutely. And the plates are on fire, right? That's exact. And you're like, oh my God, it's gonna touch my hair. That's how I thrive. I thrive like Monday, I'm doing this. Tuesday, I'm on the road here. Wednesday, I've got these clients. Thursday, I'm never bored. There's never a moment that you're like, oh. And some people are like, how do you do it? I'm like, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna retire. Like, it's there's so many possibilities out in the world that every day I feel like there's a new opportunity, a new person you meet.
Yeah.
Say yes. Like, that's another huge one. Just say yes when
Yeah.
people are like, and don't always worry about the money. The money will come if you stay consistent. And that's one thing that, people who work with me, and I'm sure work with you, whether it's business coaching or training or nutrition or whatnot, I hear a lot of excuses. And it comes to a point where you're like, you in or you out. Like, this shit's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Working out is hard. Eating right is hard.
Right.
Relationships are hard. Like,
yeah, you got to show up and put in the work and be committed.
And I really don't care if your foot is sore or if you're like, oh, I'm kind of tired. Okay. And
let's go.
like, and it's sometimes I think, maybe it's like tough love, but someone was saying the other day that, Christine, it's not tough love, it's love.
Yeah. It is love. And it's true. Like, so I was having a similar conversation with a friend too. He's a bodybuilder. These people say to me, man, it's just so easy for you to go to the gym. He's like, well, I don't always feel like going to the gym. And it's when we don't feel like it, that's what really counts. Right? Like, when we want to go our daily life, like, yeah, great. On the days where you wake up, I'm tired, I'm sore. Yeah. And then when you're done, you feel better. It's like, and then you just feel better on average. That increases daily. And that desire to not go, right? Or be lazy or make the excuses, it becomes less and less and less, because then it just becomes a part of what you do and who you are.
Right.
Right. But it's like we talked about, that consistency of showing up, that commitment, the just go, the drive.
The first year that I took a sabbatical. So, and again, I didn't know if I was going to leave my career or not. I kept, maybe it was a year and a half at least, I kept this little note, this little sticky note on the top of my computer and on my pink. It's like a sticky note like this. Like, and I had it on my computer. I had it on my planner, and I kept going back to this. Is what you're doing working towards your goal? And it could be anything that you do, but it's really powerful, because you would ask yourself, like, oh, I'm scrolling on Facebook. Is this helping me? Like, or if someone were to ask you to do something and you're like, yeah, no, I don't want to, I don't know, whatever, I don't think that taking that job or training this client or it's not working towards what I want to do. Why am I wasting my time on this?
Right.
Oh, I don't want to go to the gym. Well, is sitting on your ass, like, is that working towards what you want to go? Then
Right. By all
there it
means.
is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go eat your McDonald's because you want to, but that's the thing. Like, okay, well, are you gonna prepare a healthier meal
Mhm.
or are you gonna be lazy and go, it's it's not that difficult here.
Right. Right. Yeah. And being intentional with really everything throughout your day, sticky note or not. It's like with my clients every
Right.
Monday, it's like, okay, what's your intention for the week? Whatever you set your intention as, that's where your energy is going to flow. Like you focus there. Your intention should be something that's going to bring you closer to your goal, what you want to be throughout your day. Is this in line with my intention? Right? I'm going to have this
Mhm.
big ass piece of chocolate cake. Is that lined up with my
Mhm.
intention? Okay, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Right?
Or like, what's your intention? Is it to be lazy?
Yeah. Then
Like,
by all means, be
probably
lazy if
not.
that's your intention. But
Oh my gosh. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
But
and I think too, it's like a lot of people don't realize their potential or what they could create.
mhm.
So to even like take a look at that, there may be women watching us right now like, oh, well, I could never do the things that Christine did. I could never, leave X, Y, and Z to do this or start my own business or, do what Danielle does. Like, yeah, well, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you say you can't. Yeah, you're right. You can't. Mhm.
Right.
Whatever it is that you profess is what's going to happen.
True. Yes.
And be careful what you wish for because it just might happen, right? That whole like we can even go back to songs or whatnot. That's real. Like
It's
that
true.
is very real. Like I will speak things, um, and they happen, and it's really scary because now you're at a point where you're like, oh my gosh, whatever I say happens. Like, can I handle this? Can I handle being whatever successful means, or can I like I'm gonna have to give this speech, like a really big speech this summer. There's something big that I can't tell you yet, but I will. It's gonna be exciting. But I have to give this really big speech, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is a big deal. Like, oh my gosh, like I've always wanted this, but now it's happening. And am
Mm,
I okay with like there's never gonna be a moment where you're not scared.
right.
It's just natural and we've got to step into that like you're talking about greatness. We talk about how do you step into your greatness.
Mhm.
Well, you got to open the door to fear first
Yes.
in order to step into great. It's scary to open the door, but
Right.
that's what allows you to step into greatness.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say, like, I use the fear as my GPS. Like, where's the fear? Okay, there. That's what I need to do. That's my
Mhm.
next step because it scares me. And just keep following that. And that so far has led me to great things.
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
And then no, like, do you have things in place when you're scared or when you're in fear? Which if you're going to go out, like you said before, with people who may look at us, how do I do what they do? And how do you do what we do? Well, you're never going to do exactly what we do because you're you.
Right.
You're going to have your own path that you need to find and follow. But you also need to surround yourself with like minded people. And I was, I left when I left teaching and said, I want to go into this niche of chronic disease and wellness and whatnot. There's a need. I mean, 1 in 4 people in the United States have one or more forms of arthritis. Half
Mhm.
that number has multiple comorbidities. Number one killer of women is heart disease. Like we can go down the list of all these statistics, but right now, what are we looking at? We're looking at health span versus lifespan. people are living until about 85 right now. They're still retiring around 65. And those 20 years
Mhm.
are absolute terrible years for people.
Yeah.
They're in wheelchairs. They have all these drugs. And it's a terrible quality of life.
Mhm.
So there's a need for
Mhm.
whatever people want to do to help people.
Right.
But doing it alone is not the way to do it either. I have found the most success by partnering with people, partnering with companies, shared revenue, you know, doing some, even like I'll reach out and say, hey, I'd love to write an article for you,
Yeah.
or I'd love to be a part of this conference. First, go to a conference and then maybe apply to speak at it.
Mhm.
And I'm talking about any vocation, any job, not just health and wellness, like
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
There's just so much opportunity out there that you may not even know about. But even groups, I would say too, that I know that, each of us have been a part or have gone to networking things or a part of business coaching, or
Right.
there's something to be said for connecting with people who can, you know, give you their hand, like how I say to you, like, Danielle, who can I connect you with?
Mhm.
What do you want to do? How can I help?
Right.
And even with a podcast, it changed my life because I was able to reach out to people around the world and say, I would love to feature you on my show because I would love for my listeners around the world. So that's big,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
doesn't happen overnight.
No. No, and that's another thing in patience, right? Always a lesson in mind. Patience, Danielle, be patient.
Mhm.
Consistency and patience and trust.
Yeah. And know that sometimes you have to trust. Like I always say, I'm like, I would rather take my chances and keep getting hurt in life than never to trust.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
have to, it,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. Yep. And that's how you learn. All learning. All learning.
for sure.
Yes. I can't believe I can't believe that I never knew any of that about you. I feel like I super know you now. I'm like, now I really know you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have to send you my book too. I got to send you an autograph of the
Yes, please.
book.
Yes.
Um, because so my book is Split Second Courage, but I'm only showing you this because the tagline is, what if your fears were the key to your dreams?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
Yes.
That's the key. It's whatever you're afraid of, like you said before. Where's the fear? That's where you need to go
Yeah.
because that's how you're going to grow.
Yeah. I love that. Love it. So aligned. So aligned. And when my book is published, hopefully
Yeah.
soon, I'm writing it.
Don't say hope.
Yes.
When your book is
Well,
published
well,
soon.
hopefully soon. Yes. When it's published soon.
See, there you go. I
Yes.
gave up hope. I threw that word out, threw it in the garbage can.
Faith. I have faith.
Yeah. I
It
don't hope.
will.
I make things happen. That's what
Yes.
it is. Make it happen.
Doing it. Doing it. Doing it. Yep.
All the things.
I will
All
send
the
you
things.
one of mine as well with my Hancock.
Hmm.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing you, not only with me, but with all of my listeners. And I love you and I adore you. And I feel like our connection is definitely deeper now because I know you on an even deeper level. So thank you. And I'll definitely have you back on here because I'm
Oh
sure you
my God.
requested for sure.
Anytime. I know that I'm really easy. And I've been told I'm Googleable. I don't like that was something I was told recently. They're like,
Find me on the Googles.
you're very Googleable. So, if any of your listeners need to want to ask any questions or anything, I am totally an open book. I'm so easy to find. It's literally contifit.com. Like
That's what I was gonna say. How do they find you? Just Google
you
me.
can find any of, my email, like anything else, especially if people have questions about like switching careers or like chronic illness stuff and how to get involved in that. I'm always trying to help people network and get to the next level. So yeah,
Yeah. And
busy.
anyone listening that wants to reach out to Christine, she is the easiest person to talk to. Loving, caring, open, funny, so freaking funny. You'll have a blast with her. So yeah, don't second guess it. Just do it. Just do it. Oh, and I think we're a little bit
There it is.
frozen. There we go.
All right.
Like,
Well,
oh, I think we froze.
thank you so much for having me on and allowing me to share your airwaves with everyone. And hopefully some people got some little golden nuggets that can take with them and know that anything is possible, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you again. I love you. And everyone, until next time, this has been The Stage of Greatness with Danielle Francine, Tico Henry, and Miss Christine Conti. Bye, guys.